Good afternoon. It's 4 p.m. We bring you the developing news and the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay. Some stories that we're watching this Thursday, May 15. The National Board of Canvassers has tallied 159 certificates of canvass in just 2 days. That's the fastest in Philippine election history. COMELEC Chair George Garcia says only 16 COCs remain out of the 175 total nationwide. So if canvassing is completed today or tomorrow, winning senators and party list groups may be proclaimed as early as Saturday. A major shakeup in the party list race, with 48 groups expected to secure just one House seat each. Akbayan, Duterte Youth, and Tingog lead the rankings and are poised to get 3 seats each. Newcomer Mamamayang Liberal, backed by former Senator Laila de Lima, is among those expected to win a single seat. And at least 17 incumbent groups, including Gabriela and Ang Provinciano, may lose their seats due to lower vote counts. The palace says the Benteng Bigas Meron Na program is now available nationwide through Kadiwa centers. Starting today, May 15, 32 more Kadiwa sites will open across Bulacan, Cavite, Laguna, Mindoro, and Rizal. Meanwhile, the DA is temporarily lifting the maximum suggested retail price for pork as market compliance drops below 5%. And Germany and the Philippines have signed a defense cooperation deal to strengthen ties amid rising tensions in the South China Sea. The agreement covers cybersecurity, defense logistics, armament, and deployment of UN peacekeepers. The deal was signed in Berlin by defense chiefs Gilbert Theodora and Boris Pistorius. Joining me today via Zoom, we have Storycon's resident political pundit, Ronald Llamas, live from Dubai. Nasa airport ka ba, Ron?
Stopover.
And,
Airport.
oo nga, mukhang nasa airport ka, no?
Yes, yes.
And also from the Philippine Star, Editor-in-Chief, Ami Pamintuan. Hi, Ami.
Hi. Ronald, maganda naman diyang ma-stuck dyan eh. Maganda yung airport nila dyan, ano?
Medyo, nakatulog na nga ako sa sopa eh.
Oy, chinek mo ba yung flight mo? Baka naman nag-dial ka dito. You might miss you might miss your flight.
Daming kwal eh. Daming Pinoy, kaya maraming
Oo
tumutulong.
nga.
Oo.
Mga ano yata dyan, more than 70% daw
Yeah.
ng empleyado dyan sa airport na yan
Oo.
are Filipinos.
Baka more. Baka more. Bawat kanto may
Yeah.
Pinoy dito eh.
Oo.
Oo nga.
Oo, I just transited there din nung Monday. Pabalik ako dito from Germany. And you're right, kahit saan, puro Pinoy yung wait staff. And it's really nice kasi they're very warm, right? So everywhere you go, maraming tumutulong. And
Saka sabihin nila kung nasan yung lahat ng discount.
ano na ba nabili mo?
Ano, walang fake na Hermes dyan, bawal ah. Tunay yun, tunay.
Pero I was also able to talk to on the flight. Meron din mga galing sa neighboring Emirates, like sa Amman, sa Dammam. Marami-rami din everywhere in the Middle East, actually.
Pero ito yata pinakamahaba kong stopover, 17 hours.
Ha? 17 hours?
Cover?
Oo, cheap ticket kasi kinuha ko eh.
May hotel naman dyan.
Sabi ko
May
nga.
airport hotel dyan.
Sabi ko nga.
Yung cubicle na hotel, yung isang cubicle lang talaga, isang kama lang. Ang bayad,
May gano'n.
ang bayad 13,000 pesos na eh. No, mahigit 200 euros. Oo.
Yeah, oh.
Kaya-
Mahal kasi ng ano, no?
Wala yun, isang cubicle lang. Kaya natulog na lang ako sa sopa. No? Yakap-yakap ko yung bag ko, baka nakawin. Pero wala naman daw nagnanakaw dito eh.
Oo, it's pretty safe there. Okay, balik tayo sa elections. So now we have more details. 48 party list groups expected to secure at least one seat each. Hindi na natin may mention kung sino yung number one, no? Kasi alam naman natin lahat.
Oo nga, may nag-blow out na dyan ng lechon
3 seats daw sila. But everyone else, at least 48, 1 seat each.
Yeah.
Pero hindi nakapasok ang Gabriela and ang Provinciano as well as Bayan muna actually, di ba?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, may mga magagaling na party list na disqualify. Dahil 2 times na natalo, katulad ng Bayan muna at saka Magdalo. Sayang, ganda sana nakasama sila sa party list. Tapos yung Gabriela na laging panalo, mukhang matatalo ngayon.
Oo nga.
What do you think happened there?
Sana na makasama sila.
Oo, hindi sila nakaano, no? Their campaigning wasn't as effective. What happened there?
Yan ang tinatanong ko sa'yo, Ronald, di ba? The progressive groups are actually taking up causes na, yun na nga, yung kung susundin natin yung mga survey, na sumempla nga naman yung survey.
Oo.
Pero, mga gut issues, inflation, poverty,
Jobs.
di ba? Trabaho.
Pero progressive din naman ang akbayan.
Kaya nga, bakit gano'n? No? Hindi, baka naman dahil lang dyan, merong magaling na dyan, yung, pandit, yung professional pandit. May nagpo-promote.
Hindi naman. Maganda lang yung slogan nila, pag mahal mo, akbayan mo. Di ba, Reg? Pag mahal mo, akbayan.
Ano ba yan? Everyday ba natin may mention yung slogan na yan?
Pag nag-click sa Gen Z, nag-click sa Gen Z tsaka millennials, yung pag-akbayan mo, mahal mo.
Sabi nga sa
Pag
Mean
mahal mo, akbayan mo.
Ronald, sabi nga sa Mean Girls, stop trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
Everyday
Hindi
na
nga yun, Ronald. Messaging lang ba yan?
Ha? Hindi ko,
Kasi sila yung consistent na cause niya, yung poverty, di ba? Sila yan yung presyo, di ba? Sila yung nagmamarcha, hindi naman kulang sa publicity yan. Ano kaya nangyari? Yung messaging ba yan?
siguro tignan natin yung mga assessment nila tsaka ng iba. Hirap kasi mag-judge ngayon eh. Hindi mo alam yung data tsaka yung kanilang sariling assessment. Halimbawa, yung sa bayan, ang assessment lang nila ay pinuhat sila ng Gen Z.
By that same token, di dapat nabuhat din yung ibang progressive groups, hindi ba? Instead of they lost seats, they lost their positions. So ba't ganun? I mean, ano yung parang ang laki ng discrepancy? Like, Akbayan shot up to number 1, pero yung Bayan muna, yung Gabriela, malayo sila. So ano nangyari doon is the question.
Gusto kasi ng Gen Z, hindi sila nile-lecturean eh. Gusto nila yung mga, mga sweet na mga nakadikit sa progressive issues, pero wag masyadong hardline, wag masyadong trying hard. So, di ba? Iba yung kultura ng Gen Z eh. Iba yung kultura namin eh.
Sabi ko na eh. I knew it.
You didn't saw it coming.
No, I saw it coming because I knew you were gonna paint yourself as a Gen Z. Sige na, pagbigyan ka na namin.
Generation Jones ka raw, Jones. Merong bagong Generation Jones. Straddling the boomer and
Bigyan mo ko ng opportunity, Reg.
Oo. So you saw the opening. Oo. Sabi ko nga. Sige na. So Mr. Gen Z, Ronald Llamas. Okay. Anyway, certificate of canvases, nasa 159 na tayo. That's the fastest daw in election history. Expected proclamation. Well, at this point, mukhang possible na by Saturday we can have a proclamation, official proclamation. So, although, of course, marami na nag-proclaim ng panalo, no?
Yes.
Yung yung voter turnout, the highest ever daw,
Yes.
81.
Oo.
Galing na yan sa COMELEC, 81.65.
At baka
The highest for midterms.
At baka kami konektado dyan yung kabataan. Baka they went out.
Yun na nga.
Yeah.
Mga bata. Hindi sila masyadong at medyo na-underestimate yung kanilang delivery.
Oo.
Yes.
Baka wala akong data pero baka after nito ay makita natin yung role ng kabataan. Baka.
3 million additional new voters. New voters pa lang yan. 3 million. So, mas marami pa yung bata. Di ba?
Well, we come back to the issue of the surveys nga and how the surveys
Yes.
got it so wrong. Kasi initially, in the first 24 hours after the elections, we were asking that question, di ba? Tapos sabi, baka kasi low voter turnout, kaya medyo yung variances niya naging malawak, right? But turns out it's record high
Ang taas.
voter turnout, yeah. Which I guess the surveys also weren't able to capture. They weren't able to account for that level of civic engagement, at least during the elections. Di ko sinasabi na may civic engagement after the elections, which a new study said wala. Pero at least during the elections, I guess they didn't account for that. Hindi nabasa.
Dapat mas accurate nga, di ba? Kaya medyo sabi nga ni Okta Presidente, may problema ngayon yung mga survey firms.
Oo nga eh. I mean, I know we spoke to them already yesterday, pero they're gonna do some self-reflection and self-assessment now. So, tingnan natin kung next week meron silang recommendations.
I would want to hear their yung kanilang assessment dahil siyempre mas scientific sila kaya sa atin. Kaya I will withhold judgment until marinig yung kanilang mga paliwanag based on their own framework at science.
And I want to hear ano yung balak nilang gawin to capture more of these younger voters, yung capture the pulse of these younger voters. Katulad nga ni Ronald, sabi nga niya, Gen Z, right?
Diyan pa lang, mali na yung ano mo eh. Mali na yung assessment mo, diyan pa lang.
Kaya eh. Parang more like Gen Senior, no? More Gen Senior.
Gen Senior. Gen Senior. Hindi, alam mo, pinapakinggan ko kahapon si Ronald Holmes of Pulse Asia.
Yeah.
Masyadong komplikado din yung ano niya, no? Yung explanation niya.
Yes.
And if they're going to carry out changes na sinusundan yon, medyo mahirap eh. Medyo mahirap. Kung paano sila mag-a-adapt dun sa mga komplikasyon na yon. Di ba? Na kung yung mga tinitignan nilang mga kakulangan na nangyari, they will have to address it. Medyo mahirap eh. Dahil nag-aral din naman ako ng poll taking statistics eh. Lesson namin yan sa ano eh. Nung college eh. Ang hirap-hirap sundan yon. Yung mga sinasabi niya na mga kailangan i-address mo yung factors na yon. Ewan ko, mahihirapan sila. Mahihirapan ng polling.
I think so. And also because they rely on traditional methodologies, right?
Yes.
Which is in-person questionnaires.
Yes.
Eh, yun nga, ang tanong doon is how will you be able to capture the sentiment online? Right? Which I don't think at this point
Mahirap
has been
na nga
worked
yung
in.
in-person. Kasi yung iba nahihiya, di ba, na magsabi ng totoo. Eh di lalo na dun, mas madali magsinungaling kung online.
Oo. Or
Di ba?
Saka may ibang variables din at play. Halimbawa,
Yes.
inaasahan mo malakas yung government, yung incumbent during the midterms. Inaasahan mo,
Yeah.
meron silang plus minus na 10% because of machinery. Mukhang wala yun eh. Mukhang hindi sila nag-deliver eh. Tapos ngayon, mukhang may
Yes.
away sa loob, no, sa handling ng campaign. No, may marami lumalabas ng mga memes, videos, etc. So even the government, kinakailangan nilang soul searching eh. How did they run the campaign? Dahil dapat nearing the election, machinery na yan eh. Pero parang hindi nag-deliver yung machinery nila. So,
May istorya kay Toby Chanko. Sabi niya, he's blaming the initiators of the impeachment of Sara Duterte.
so
Apat na tropa yung initiator na yun. Hindi ko alam kung sino yung sinisisi talaga eh. Apat na
Hirap
grupo
talaga.
yun, di ba?
hirap talaga eh. Imbis na sisihin mo yung sarili mo, iba sinisisi mo eh. No?
Uy, speaking of, may dalawang bagong prosecutors, ha? We've got former Senator Laila De Lima now, likely
Congresswoman na siya.
Congresswoman-elect. And also
Baka sisihin
Attorney
din sila ni
Chol.
Toby.
Baka ano?
Kasama siya,
Baka sisihin din sila ni Toby.
Pero mukhang kasundo na siya niya na. Ang nag-invite daw, kausap ko siya kahapon eh. Si Congresswoman Laila. Ang nag-invite sa kanya is the speaker himself.
Ano yun, Ami? Tinawagan siya? Or how was it? How did he reach out?
Tinawagan daw sila. Siya,
tinawagan.
he's speaking
Wow.
for herself. Tinawagan siya.
Tinawagan.
At tinanong daw siya, gusto niyo ba kasi natalo nga daw yung dalawa from the
Dalawa.
prosecution team, baka daw gusto niya. Pumayag daw siya.
Ang bilis,
Tapos I think ganun reach out din kay Shell Jokno.
Oo.
At of course, pumayag din si Shell.
Oo. Ang bilis,
Magandang
Tumawag
addition
agad.
sila. Magandang addition sila. Dahil yung isa, Secretary of Justice, na-nominate
Yes.
na si Laila sa Supreme Court. Medyo
Yes.
natalo lang sa JBC by 1 vote. Diba?
Hmm.
Who knows? Baka naging Chief Justice pa yan kung nakalusot siya
Oo nga
sa
eh.
Justice ng Supreme Court.
Kung hindi nakulong, ano?
Dalawa, si Chel, dinang pa niya ng Lasal Law School. Diba?
Yes.
Saka matagal na yung abogado.
Oo.
Kaya tingin ko maganda naman silang value added. Objectively, hindi yun bias.
Walang politika. Oo, walang politika. Oo.
Maganda silang addition.
Oo. I mean, yeah, they're both very accomplished lawyers. I wonder lang kung may nag-hesitate si Congresswoman De Lima when she was offered by House Speaker Romualdez, or hindi?
Baka hindi
Hindi
naman,
yata.
Reg.
Hindi
Baka
naman.
Reg,
Hindi
dahil
yata.
kasama siya sa nag-file nung first impeachment, di ba?
Yes.
Tama,
Oo.
tama.
Kasama siya sa
Isa
file.
sa mga nasisisi.
Okay.
Sisisi sa pagkatalo.
Wait guys, we have breaking news. Arrest warrant ni former spokesperson Harry Roque lumabas na. This was issued by Angeles Pampanga Regional Trial Court Branch 118. Kasama sa arrest warrant si Cassandra Leong, who was of course implicated in the Pogo operations there. And then siyam na iba pa over qualified human trafficking.
Yes.
Non-bailable ito, of course, so walang
Yes.
piyansa, walang
Unbailable
bail. And so far, wala pang response galing kay Harry Roque. The file that we're looking at right now, nasa Germany yan. I was the one who shot that. So that was maybe 1 week ago, 1 week and a half ago. Nagulat na lang ako na nasa Germany siya, nasa Munich, no? Pero ang alam natin is bumalik na siya dapat sa The Hague at this point, because he's seeking asylum there, right? Although he's free to travel within Schengen naman pagka ganon. But so far, wala pang pahayag from Attorney Roque and sa kampo ni Cassandra Leong.
Makahabulin siya ng
Kailangan-
Interpol dyan, kahit wala tayong
Yes.
extradition. Baka dahil seryoso ang Europe sa human trafficking.
Oo.
So,
Pwedeng idaan nga sa Interpol yon. Kung meron ng arrest order dito sa atin, ha? Saka we don't know how it will affect his application for asylum sa Netherlands. Kasi medyo mahigpit dyan that's Western Europe mahigpit yung mga yan sa ganyan mga kaso.
oo.
Yes.
When I
Hindi
asked,
kasi yan political hindi yan political repression. No,
Yes.
para sa Netherlands or para sa Europe. Very serious sila sa human trafficking.
So he can't argue na this is all part of the political persecution, because when I spoke to him sa Germany nga, yung video na nire-roll natin kanina, when I spoke to him about a week ago sa Germany, sabi niya, handa ko harapin natin kaso, this is all part of the case that I'm building up to tell the court, to convince the court that I'm being persecuted politically sa Pilipinas. Yun yung basis ng asylum application niya, which is that they're building up, the government daw here is building up cases against him without evidence. Kasi the only evidence they have daw is one piece of paper connecting him to the Pogo hub in Pampanga in Porac. Sabi niya, that's nothing, that's not evidence. So,
There's probably more. Pero hindi naman nila ilalabas yung evidence ngayon. Ilalabas nila ang trial. Diba? So, ayun. Hindi natin alam kung ano talaga yung mga evidence na hawak nung magsasampa ng kaso sa kanya.
so you mean to say...
Pero mapula yung pisngi niya, Reg, ha? Ibig sabihin, lagi siya nakabilad sa araw sa field of flowers.
Mainit dun eh. It was sunny, spring na, 'di ba? So the weather was really good. So
Yeah,
mainit-init. Oo. Pero oo nga, medyo mukhang parati siyang outdoors. And he lost a lot of weight. Sabi ko sa kanya, sir, mukhang we're getting a lot of sun. doon sa Europe.
Ano sabi niya?
Tawa lang siya. But yun nga, sabi niya during our interview, I had a 5-10 minute exchange with him. Sabi niya he's ready to face the charges and he's still convinced na yung application niya for asylum will be granted on the basis of the case that he's writing. On the basis daw. Sabi niya marami daw, yung ganito daw kataas yung paperwork that he's filed with the Dutch embassy, with the Dutch government.
Wow.
Ronald, matagal ba yung process na yan if you're applying for asylum?
Medyo matagal dahil 43,000 yung nakapila yung pinaprocess. No? Unless very dramatic siguro yung palmo. Unless very dramatic yung palmo, yung issue mo. Pero dramatic naman talaga si Juan. Dramatic naman talaga si Harry. Pero baka hindi yung kaso niya. Baka siya lang yung dramatic.
Pero kung tayo mag-request, kung Manila ang mag-request na balik siya rito.
Well, wala kasi tayong extradition treaty. Kaya baka idaan yan sa Interpol. Wala tayong extradition sa Netherlands. Pero lahat naman yan may paraan. Depende sa usapan ng government to government.
So if I understand correctly, because may warrant of arrest na, anytime pwede nang pumunta sa Interpol, pwede nang humingi ng tulong sa Interpol, correct? Pwede, okay.
Request tayo.
Okay.
At saka yung Interpol headquarters niya nandiyan sa The Hague.
Yun na nga.
Oo nga.
Kung saan pa where he is, kaya nga
Kapit-bahay ng ICC.
Oo.
Nakita mo yung bahay ni Juan, ni Harry, maganda.
Hindi.
Pinatour niya yung media
Talaga?
Ganun ba?
Parang chill lang siya chill lang. Ganyan sa YouTube, tinutour niya yung media sa bahay niya. Para siyang Juan
Yan sa The Hague.
So because...
Hindi ko alam kung The Hague, basta just sa Netherlands. Pinakita niya yung bahay.
So because may warrant na, is he now a fugitive? Yun ba yun? It's or is he...
Hindi na yung contempt. Hindi na yung contempt lang
Oo.
Diba?
Hindi na contempt order from the Congress. Is he now
that's
officially a fugitive?
That's a court order. Kaya iniintay natin ngayon kung ano sasabihin ng ano.
Imbitahin natin yung Justice Department o yung nag-file ng kaso. Para malaman natin yung detalye. Hindi natin alam yung detalye.
Okay, we're gonna go back to COMELEC now, where we have a live report. Of course, COMELEC is targeting to proclaim winning senators this weekend nga. For the details, let's get out to mobile journalist Merimon Reyes reporting live. Merimon, anong balita today? 159 certificates of canvas na, di ba? What else do we know?
Yes, yung isa ba dyan sa binalita ng COMELEC kanina sa isang press conference is yung magandang naging voter turnout kung saan, yun nga, 81.65% ang voters turnout, which equates to 55,874,700 voters over doon sa 68.4 million na botante for this midterm election. Ang nasabi ni Chairman George Garcia sa kasaysayan daw ng Philippine midterm election, to be specific, ito daw yung pinakamataas na voters turnout. And isa sa tinitingnan daw dito ni Chairman is possibly yung naging participation daw ng kabataan. So mas nakikita na raw ngayon yung presensya ng mga ito. Pero yun yung pa so far yung nakikita niya sa kanyang initial investigation. At the same time, they are expecting na by Saturday, nakikita na nila kasi 16 na lang hinihintay nilang COCs to canvass. So ma-officially proclaim na yung mga magwawaging senador. And then nasabi nila pagdating naman sa mga party list groups, nagre-request sila ng isang araw na palugit. So by Monday, possibly isasagawa na rin yung official proclamation naman ng mga magwawaging party list groups. At the same time, dito sa likuran ko ngayon na nasa Pasay ako, isinasagawa ang day 2 ng random manual auditing. Pero so far, 2 pa lang na ballot boxes ang natapos ng pag-audit. 762 in total yung ballot boxes na dadaan dito for random manual auditing, which will span for over 45 days. And ito sa likuran natin, these are made up of 60 teams from DepEd na nag-undergo sila ng training last April. And nilinaw naman ng COMELEC na ang mga ito, hindi sila nagsilbing electoral board members this halalan, pero may experience at may kaalaman sila sa mga lumipas na eleksyon. So far, tuloy-tuloy pa sila sa likuran natin at sumakto lang na oras na ito, maaaring makapasok ang media para maobserbahan yung kanilang procedure. So sa numero na nakuha natin, 58 pa yung pinaprocess para ngayong araw, tas over 160 naman yung ballot boxes na nandito na sa RMA. So ibig sabihin na 762 minus sa over 160, malaki-laki pa yung hinihintay dito. And ang reason for that is transportation ng mga ballot boxes. Kasi bukod sa 762 ito, pinili ito randomly ng Philippine Statistics Authority from Luzon, Visayas hanggang Mindanao. So, pinakasagot na nila dyan, transportation, na by plane, lalo na yung Visayas and Mindanao area, posibleng matagalan pa talaga bago makarating dito. Kaya ina-expect nila na aabutin talaga na matagal-tagal yung pagtapos ng RMA. Pero nilinaw na naman ng COMELEC na kung ano man ang kalalabasan dito, this cannot be used for the filing of election protest. Rather, ang tinitingnan naman kasi sa RMA talaga is yung integrity and yung accuracy ng pagbibilang, comparing yung mano-manong binilang na boto dito in comparison doon sa election returns mula naman sa pagbibilang ng boto ng automated counting machines. So far, yun pa lang ang latest mula dito sa RMA sa Pasay. Balik sa inyo.
So ang process dyan, Mary Mon, meron pa bang official declaration bago yung proclamation? Meron pa bang ganon? Na kasi matatapos na yung canvassing eh. Pagkatapos ng canvassing, meron bang official announcement ng mga nanalo bago yung formal proclamation?
Wala,
So,
Miss
ba yun?
Wala raw, Miss Ami. Kasi since una, abuti talaga ito ng 45 days, plus hindi naman nga ito basis for possible election protest, kahit matapos daw yung official proclamation, hindi naman nun maapektuhan yung proseso ng RMA. So kung 45 days talaga abutin, whether or not tapos na yung canvassing of votes hanggang sa proclamation, tuloy pa rin talaga ang operation ng RMA.
Okay, that's very good to hear. 81% voter turnout. That's very high. Thank you for that report. That was mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes reporting live from COMELEC Canvassing Center in Pasay. Salamat, Mary Mon.
Thanks, Mary Mon.
You are watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
Welcome back. We've got the developing news and the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay. Still with us, Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star and Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit, coming to us live from Dubai.
Hindi ko nakasama rin sa chismisa namin ni Pangalina.
Talaga?
Ami.
Anong chismis?
Marami kami chismisan eh.
Oo nga, pinutol na rin yung
oo nga.
audio ko so hindi ko marinig.
Papalot ko yan mamaya.
Okay, let's bring in our guest today. We've got Manuel Sanchez de Nogues, Deputy Chief Observer of the EU Election Observation Mission. Good afternoon. Welcome to Storycon, Mr. de Nogues. Can you hear me okay?
Good
Sorry,
afternoon. Can
you're
you hear
on mute.
us?
Sorry,
You're
you're on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Yes, good afternoon.
Okay.
Thank you for inviting me.
Fantastic.
Good
Are you,
afternoon,
Yes.
Manuel. It's
Hello.
nice to see you again.
are you
Yeah,
still in
thank you.
Manila?
Sorry?
Are you still in Manila?
Yes, we are in Manila. Yes,
Okay.
Makati.
Okay, good. So just to let's start with setting the context for those who don't know this story. So the Philippine government invited the European Union to send an observation mission to observe the 2025 midterm elections, correct? And this is the second time the Philippine government has done so.
The Philippine government and the Commission for Elections, on elections, yes, COMELEC.
Okay, and how big was the delegation that the EU sent in
We
response?
deployed on election day, we deployed the 226 observers, but we arrived on the 28th of March with a first team of 11 experts. Then that was also continued with a team of long-term observers of 72 long-term observers that are deployed in the country since mid-April.
I see.
But
But you
on
said-
election day we have short-term observers, and the total number of observers that we deployed and we accredited with COMELEC was 226.
And they were divided into 82 teams.
They were divided into teams of two because that's our methodology. We always work in teams of two. So basically, the first batch of LTOs, long-term observers, there were 72. That means 36 teams. And then we received another bunch of 104 short-term observers. That makes 52 teams, plus a delegation of the European Parliament that also came to endorse our work, plus what we call locally recruited observers. Those are diplomats from the EU member states accredited in the Philippines.
And Manuel, I would just like to clarify that you had an agreement with the COMELEC before the elections that you will be granted full access to the polling places. Is that right?
Yes, the European Union signed an agreement with the COMELEC and with the Department of Foreign Affairs, granting the mission full access to all stages of the electoral process.
Right. So that seems to have been the problem because you signed an agreement for unrestricted access to the polling centers and the precincts, but on the ground, you said that your observers were denied access, which, by the way, there is a Philippine law. There is an election code that,
Yes.
that prohibits access, the entry of foreigners into the election premises. But tell us what happened
Yes.
on the election day itself.
Well, on election day, we decided not to deploy observers for the voting, but we deployed for the counting and canvassing of the votes, following the instructions or letter that we received from the instruction that we received from COMELEC that EU, and also it was also published on the media repeatedly that the EU observer would not have access to the voting, or access to the precincts to observe the voting. So therefore we complied with that instruction, and therefore we deployed our observers only for the counting.
And how long will your group be in the Philippines? I understand there will be some long-term observers staying on for a couple more days in the Philippines.
Yes, we have a staggered deployment and, of course, a staggered redeployment.
Yes.
The first to arrive are the last to leave, basically. So that's the core team. That's the experts based here in Manila. We arrived on the 28th of March and will be in the country until the end of May, until the end of the month. Our short-term observer will be redeployed soon in these days, and they will be flying out to Europe in the coming two or 3 days. And then the long-term observers, those who arrived in the middle of April, will be redeployed to Manila for further flying out to Europe by the end of next week.
Manuel,
But you do have
I heard
preliminary
that-
findings already.
Manuel, I already heard that you have a preliminary report. Have you given this to the media or made it public? Your preliminary report?
We had a press conference yesterday where we presented our preliminary statement, and it's been also distributed to the media. Yes, it's a public document that's it's accessible to everybody, media, also the public, the general, everybody.
But offhand, what is the summary of your preliminary report? Offhand.
We assessed that the process was properly organized by COMELEC. Also, we also take into account that we couldn't observe the voting, so therefore we cannot comment on the voting because we couldn't observe it. But we observed also the counting. In general, what we say is that the process was organized well. That all materials were in place in the polling precincts. That there were some innovative decisions or activities conducted by COMELEC with regards discriminatory remarks by the political parties or candidates. It was a very, I think it's a positive thing to do. And also, we also highlighted some things that we believe that should be addressed properly, like vote buying, like the violence. Even if we know that these elections were less violent than the previous ones or the 2019 elections, because we have to compare these elections not with the 2022 elections, but with the 2019 elections. We understand that the violence is less severe, but at the same time, we say that we cannot refer to violence as mere statistics. Basically, because whenever there is a person alive, a human life at stake, or a human life lost, that's a very serious concern, especially in a democratic society and also for elections.
Can you give us more details about your observations on vote buying? Maybe a personal experience or anecdotal or stories from your colleagues.
We have received credible reports from our observers. You must also take into account that if you are dressed like I am with a vest, clearly identified as election observer, you're not going to commit any kind of interaction. Commercial interaction, yes, of course. But we received credible reports. And that we believe that are very credible, and also we have other types of evidence. It is like a crime being committed in front of the police. No one commits a crime in front of the police. That's the idea. We also have we report on the distribution of welfare payouts like ayuda that has been done during the campaign, which is something that might not be completely correct if it's done in a partisan manner. But also I would like to highlight the positive things. For instance, I think I already said about it. It's about the stance that COMELEC took towards against the discriminatory or sexist remarks against women during the campaign. I think that was a very good initiative. Also, the inclusiveness of the registration process, the voter registration process. Also, that I think that COMELEC was take a very positive stance towards guaranteeing the right to vote for persons with disabilities and persons with elderly persons. With the I think there was something very in order to have a more inclusive election process. I think that was something that was good to do.
It's good to hear about all of these improvements. But also, Mr. Dinogues, if I could just come back to the point about vote buying, your group pointed out the pervasiveness of vote buying, and that your observers noticed that both cash and goods were being distributed during this time.
Yeah.
And you've documented cases as well in places like Bohol, Davao Oriental, La Union, Palawan, Quezon, Siquijor, Zamboanga City. So it's not concentrated in any one region, but actually spread out throughout the Philippines.
I think that the word is widespread. So we will comment on more. I have to say that this is a preliminary statement. We will publish a final report in, let's say, 1 month, 2 months time, where all these issues will be much more detailed. You need to understand that this is a document that contains our assessment so far. It's a short document that we need to concentrate many issues in a limited number of pages. So therefore, we're just commenting what we have, but we don't go into the details of specific cases because they have no physical room for that. But we will comment on that, and I think we'll have more time to dedicate more space to these specific cases in our final report.
But Manuel, I saw the word ayuda in your preliminary report. No?
Yes.
Ayuda is a very
Loaded
very,
word.
iconic name here. No?
Okay. Well, it's a word like, I am Spanish, it's the same word.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the same word. That's right. Okay.
Ayuda.
It's also
I
ayuda.
understand you've had election observer missions in other countries. Can you compare this experience in the Philippines with those missions?
We don't compare one election with another election because the contexts are very different, and the elections must be themselves self-explanatory. I cannot compare with other. It's something that we don't do because the context is very much different from one country to the other. So therefore, we refrain ourselves from making such statements.
But in general, Manuel, no, in general, what is the, from your observation, what is the main difference between elections in Europe and elections here in the Philippines? Without making a judgment, no.
You're making the same question as your colleague, but so I will have to reply the same way. I might change the words as you have done with your question, but we don't compare processes.
What is the value of these observation missions? I mean, I get that you didn't have an ideal experience here because you were not given full access to the precincts, but talk us through the value of sending independent third-party election observation missions to, large democratic exercises like that in the Philippines.
The main value is to have a kind of partnership with the country to compare the process. What we do when we observe, we compare the process with international standards that the country has signed on political participation and election. It's a very good thing to do because you put your elections and you compare them to what is the standard or the international agreed standard on how the elections should be conducted. Also, the value of exchange experiences. It's not only us Europeans that come here as European Union citizens that come here to observe elections in the Philippines,
right,
but our elections are also observed. Elections in my country are observed by other international organizations. The EU does not observe elections in its own countries, but it's done by another international organization. And this is not like us coming here to observe, but it's also about my understanding of how do I see election observation is that exchanging experiences, exchanging exchanging in a way that we can, improve our elections and our democracies at the end. This is a way to improve our elections. That is how I see it.
You have a team that focused on disinformation and fake news in the elections. Can you tell us more about their findings or their observations?
we have found that we have there's a dedicated section in the report. It's not a big one; it's a small one on social media finding. We have found several instances of trolls that have increased the number of followers by several politicians, which is does not have a natural explanation. Basically, it seems to be that they are like artificially created. We'll go into more details in our final report on that because we will have more room to explain deeply all those instances.
Was it pervasive? Would you describe it as pervasive, the problem?
Sorry, I don't.
The problem of disinformation during these elections, would you consider it pervasive, that problem?
I would consider it that it's affecting every. I mean, it's an ongoing process. That it's an ongoing problem. That it will be because of the development of social media. That it's becoming more and more important and more. More serious.
Right. Okay. We'll leave that there for now. Thank you so much for your insights and your time. We look forward to getting the full report when it's ready. That was Manuel Sanchez de Nogues, Deputy Chief Observer of the EU Election Observation Mission, which observed the 2025 midterm elections of the Philippines. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manuel. I hope you return back here.
I will. Thank you.
As a tourist.
We won't let him go anymore. Another piece of breaking news just before we end the show. Court of Appeals nullified the acquittal of former Senator Laila De Lima and her co-accused, si Ronnie Palisok Dayan. This is in relation to the illegal drug trade case. Sabi ng Court of Appeals, the trial court committed grave abuse of discretion in dismissing the charges. Now, what does this mean for her very recent win?
Restored yung conviction.
It means they have to order new proceedings on the drug case. So it will start over again, if I understood it correctly. Tama ba, Ronald?
Yeah.
Magpa-file sila ng motion for reconsideration.
Yes, magmo-motion for reconsideration. Saka kung conviction yan, it will go all the way to the Supreme Court, no?
Yeah. Oo nga eh.
Yes,
But,
yes.
and of course, what
Conviction yan.
does this mean for her very recent win, right? Will that prevent her from
until final conviction, you can serve.
Pwede pa. She can assume
Even from
office.
prison.
Oo.
You can keep your position.
Oo.
Yes, and you can serve.
Oo.
Kasi si Halos Osman, even from Bilibid, he was working as a congressman.
Oo. Sa bagay, I mean,
until naging final yung ruling ng
As a
kanyang yung conviction
oo.
from the Supreme Court.
Sa bagay, I mean,
Alam siya ng
si former President Duterte, he can be proclaimed the winner for Davao,
Yes.
right? As mayor of Davao.
Yeah.
Whether or not he can assume
Yes.
office is beyond
Yes.
the COMELEC's jurisdiction. Pero yeah, for now he is the winner of
He
the
is the
mayorship
winner.
of Davao.
Yes.
He will be proclaimed. Hindi naman daw kailangan yung physical presence.
Oo.
Basta COMELEC will just announce he's the winner. Hindi daw kailangan mag-oath before the COMELEC.
Pero with the Attorney De Lima, the question is if it goes all the way to the Supreme Court, tapos na
He can serve.
the
Habang
Supreme
hindi pa
Court,
convicted, hindi pa final yung conviction.
if they rule that it is final, does that mean she gets jailed again?
It has to be the Supreme Court.
Oo. There's the question of...
It will be appealed to the Supreme Court kasi conviction eh.
Oo. Pero kung yun nga, if the Supreme Court rules against her, that means makukulong ulit siya.
Kulong siya.
Ayay.
Kulong siya.
Oo.
If it's conviction.
Yun na nga yung that's
Balik siya sa preso.
dalawang two big breaking news this afternoon, just as we were on air.
Yeah.
So number one, ito nga, Court of Appeals nullifies acquittal of former Senator Laila De Lima.
Yeah.
So we will see new proceedings on this case. Mag-start ulit yung kaso. And then, secondly, the arrest warrant for Harry Roque is out, issued by Regional Trial Court in Pampanga. This is non-bailable, of course, walang piyansa. So again, there's a question of...
Ronald, baka magkita kayo ni, ni Harry. Kasi he's free to
Oo.
move around Europe.
Oo nga eh. Sabi niya, he'll stay in
Baka
Schengen.
gusto rin niya makita si Pope, syempre. Nagpe-press conference tong Pope na to, Galing, ano?
Sige. Pag nakita kami, bibindisyonan ko siya.
Interviewin mo, ha?
Interviewin mo nga, tanong mo anong...
Yan, interviewin mo para dito sa atin. No.
Pero parang may kilala akong editor na sinabihan niya, nabully ako eh. Sino kaya yung editor na yun?
Nabully ka?
Bully daw ako, Reg. Ako bully.
But that's along
Hindi
the...
ka sa atin mo, interviewin mo.
That's along the same lines as you.
Reg, bully ako.
Ha?
Principal, bully ba ako?
That's along the same lines as you saying Gen Z ka. Parang
Gen
let's
Z.
iwan na lang natin
Jen
doon.
Jones yan, Jen Jones.
Okay.
Kaya
Well,
pag nakita ko ni Harry, baka magtago sa kanto yon.
tingin mo takot siya sa'yo?
Interviewin mo.
Oo, kasapin mo.
Bully daw ako eh. Ano magagawa ako? Bully daw ako.
Di pakita mo hindi ka bully.
So, anong gagawin ko? Lalambingin ko siya para di ako bully.
Siyempre, pakita mo.
Ask him what he's gonna
Bigyan mo lang,
do.
ite.
Pero I doubt that he will, I expect, given his history, I doubt he will be out and about anymore. Probably mag-issue siguro ito ng video statement. But of course, this is a very serious charge. This is
Baka hindi siya
qualified
makabalik
human
eh.
trafficking.
Kung gala siya ng gala, baka hindi siya makabalik.
Oo, and as we were just saying, di ba nga, EU yan eh, they're very strict, they're very sensitive about human trafficking charges.
Human trafficking.
Oo.
Kapag ganyan, Ronald, pwede nang i-cancel yung passport niya, no?
Yes.
Oo nga, no? That's a good
Kapag
point.
ganyan may
Yes, pwede
may
na.
ganyang criminal case na.
Yeah. So the question is, so once na-cancel yung passport, he won't be able to stay in the EU anymore, right?
naman.
May application siya for asylum eh. Pero
hindi naman.
mahirap siyang mag-move around.
Hindi lang siya makalabas. That's
Hindi lang
siguro.
siya makagalaw masyado.
Okay.
Pero marami naman kasing fields of flowers doon eh, na pwede siyang puntahan. Mahilig siya sa bulaklak eh, kaya okay.
Ayan, bully talaga. Bully.
Oh, si Ami yun na. Si Ami yun. Okay, we'll leave that there. Thank you so much for joining Storycon today. Ami Pamitun, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, and Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit. Safe travels, Ronald. Join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. Storycon. I'm Regina Lay. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.